Good evening, chroniclers. Relax, breathe, and listen. What you are about to hear was not made to be understood by everyone. I am Ryvar, Warden of the Meridian Vault. It's a title heavier than any armor I used to wear, the kind of weight that settles into your bones over decades and never quite leaves. Age has carved quiet lines across my face, the kind no mirror can hide and no amount of discipline can erase. I move with the steadiness of someone who has lived long enough to understand that rushing rarely changes outcomes. It only exhausts the body faster, and I've learned to conserve what strength remains. Tonight, the meridian cracked for the first time in decades. The sound didn't reach my ears. I felt it, a deep tremor that ran through the stone floors of my chambers and up through the soles of my feet, settling into my chest like a warning I'd been expecting for years, but hoping would never come. The vault is a place few in the order have seen. Its corridors are made of layered quartz, pale and translucent, reflecting faint strands of light that pulse in slow, rhythmic waves, almost like breathing. The walls used to comfort me when I was younger, back when I believed duty and purpose were the same thing, when I thought the weight of responsibility would grow lighter with understanding. Years have a way of separating those illusions, of showing you that some burdens only grow heavier the longer you carry them. As I stepped inside, the fissure revealed itself immediately, a long, diagonal fracture slicing through the central pillar, glowing faintly with white gold light that seemed to pulse with its own heartbeat. I felt its warmth against my skin before I even reached it, a strange, electric heat that made the hairs on my arms stand on end. That's when I realized the meridian wasn't just damaged, it was waking, and something about that realization sent a cold finger of dread down my spine, because things that wake after long silence rarely do so gently. The light inside the crack pulsed once stronger this time, and a familiar ache pressed into my chest, the kind of pressure that reminds you of responsibilities you never quite outran, of choices you made decades ago that are only now revealing their full cost. My hands, steadier than they used to be thanks to years of controlled breathing and deliberate movement, hovered above the fracture. The moment my fingers came close, the vault responded to my presence. Lines of light ran along the walls like veins of molten gold, forming intricate maps I hadn't seen in years. Maps of the deep places, maps of the sealed chambers, maps I had chosen to forget, because forgetting was easier than remembering what we had buried here. Because I helped build this place. I was there when the foundations were laid, when the wards were carved into stone, when the seals were spoken into permanence. And I helped seal what sleeps beneath it. I helped lock away the thing we swore would never wake. The thing we promised ourselves was contained, controlled, safe. The ground shifted softly beneath my boots, a subtle movement like something vast and ancient exhaling just below the floor. My voice came out rougher than usual, worn by time and silence. "You should have stayed quiet," the vault answered, not with words, but by projecting a ripple of memory directly into my thoughts. Not vision, not sound, but recognition, a deep, wordless understanding that pressed gently into my mind. It reminded me of who I used to be. A young warden, shoulders square, big straight eyes, bright with conviction, absolutely convinced that control was permanent. A man who believed fractures could be repaired simply by wanting them to be, who thought willpower and discipline were enough to hold back the tide of inevitability. The present crack widened with a soft, grinding sound, like glass being slowly bent to its breaking point. A thin sliver of light brushed against my palm, and it was hotter now, almost burning. And then words etched themselves across the smooth quartz floor in slow, deliberate strokes, each letter glowing with that same white gold light. "The breaker has breached the meridian." I stayed still for several long breaths, my chest rising and falling with controlled rhythm. Silence changes with age. When you're young, silence is a threat, a void that needs to be filled with action, with words, with movement. When you're older, you understand that silence is truth. It's the space where reality settles, where panic fades and clarity remains. Not for myself. The fear I felt wasn't the sharp, immediate terror of youth. It was the deep, settled dread of someone who understands consequences, who knows exactly what this place protects and what would happen if it failed. My shoulders tightened, an old instinct returning with unwelcome familiarity. I straightened, letting my posture settle back into the shape of the man I used to be, the man the Meridian once trusted, the man who swore oaths in this very chamber and meant every word. "I'm here," I whispered, my voice barely more than breath. "Show me what he took." The crack flared, the light intensifying until I had to squint against it. And then I heard it, a deep, grinding sound of ancient mechanisms unlocking. The stairs leading downward, hidden beneath seamless stone for decades, revealed themselves one grinding shift at a time, each step emerging from the floor like teeth rising from a jaw. The vault wanted me below, and after all these years, standing here in the flickering light with my heart beating slow and heavy in my chest, I understood why. The descent spiraled deeper than memory suggested, and I found myself counting steps without meaning to. Some unconscious need to measure the distance between where I was and where I was going. Age has a way of distorting distances, of making familiar paths feel longer, more treacherous. Responsibility has a way of making them feel longer still. Each step echoed faintly against the quartz walls, and the echoes returned slower than they should have, delayed, stretched, as if something far below was listening to each footfall and thinking before responding. The air grew thinner, colder. This wasn't the path I walked as a younger man, full of purpose and blind to the cost. This was a pilgrimage to a grave I had helped to dig. Every descending turn felt like a layer of my past peeling away, revealing the raw, unhealed mistakes beneath. The silence down here wasn't empty. It was heavy, filled with the unsaid. It pressed in on all sides, a physical weight on my shoulders that had nothing to do with gravity and everything to do with a burden I carried. I could feel the old promises I made in this very stairway, whispers of duty and honor that now sounded like the boasts of a fool. The quartz, once a guide, now seemed to judge me with its cold, indifferent shimmer. The lower chamber was colder than I remembered, the kind of cold that seeps through clothing and settles into joints, making old injuries ache with renewed insistence. Its quartz walls had dimmed significantly, the once steady glow now flickering like a dying pulse, irregular and weak. As I stepped inside, crossing the threshold from the stairway into the open chamber, I felt the air shift around me. Not violently, not with any dramatic change, just enough for the body to sense what the mind tries to ignore. The return of an old wound, the reopening of something you thought had healed but never truly did. The vastness of the chamber, which once felt like a testament to the Order's strength, now felt like an empty tomb. The stillness was profound, broken only by the ragged sound of my own breathing. The air tasted of dust and ozone, the scent of decay and fading power. I ran a hand along the wall, the stone cool and unnervingly smooth beneath my calloused fingers. It felt dead. The vibrant energy that once thrummed through this place, a current you could almost hear if you listened closely, was gone. All that remained was this hollow, chilling silence, a monument to a failure that was mine and mine alone. I had stood in this chamber as a boy, in awe of its light. Now, as an old man, I stood in its shadow. Light gathered in the far corner of the chamber, coalescing slowly into a suspended sphere, roughly the size of a clenched fist. The Meridian core, or what remained of it. When I first became warden decades ago, when my hair was still dark and my hands didn't shake in the cold, the core was brilliant, a beacon of pure, steady light that anchored parts of the Order most people never knew were drifting. It held things together in ways that couldn't be explained, only felt. Now it hung there, fractured and dim, thin cracks crawling across its surface like brittle veins spreading through glass. A soft, rhythmic glow pulsed from deep inside it, but the rhythm was uneven, almost struggling, like a heart trying to beat through damaged tissue. It was painful to look at. This broken relic, it was a mirror, reflecting my own decay, my own broken promises. The light it cast was just enough to illuminate the dust motes dancing in the air, each one a tiny ghost in the gloom. The core was not just an object. It was the heart of our world, the anchor that kept reality from fraying at the edges, and I had let it break. I, the warden, its sworn protector. The irony was a bitter taste in my mouth. My title had become a mockery. I approached slowly, each step revealing more damage as the angle of light shifted. Fractures radiating outward from a central point of impact. Symbols that had once glowed steadily now, flickering like broken memories, trying to reassemble themselves. And an absence quiet, but immense, a hollow space where a vital resonance used to hum where something essential had been torn away. I reached out, letting my fingertips hover near the core surface without quite touching it. The resonance recognized me immediately. A soft vibration ran through my palm, traveled up through my forearm, and settled heavy in the center of my chest. It wasn't painful, it was familiar, achingly so. Like touching an old photograph of someone you failed in ways you still don't have words for. Ways that haunt you in quiet moments when you're alone with your thoughts. The vibration was a lament, a question, a plea. It spoke of betrayal, of abandonment. It didn't accuse me with anger, but with a deep, bottomless sorrow that was far worse. I could feel its loneliness, its confusion. It remembered a time when it was whole, when its song was strong. Now, it was just this fractured whisper, a shadow of its former self, and it was asking me why. A question I had no answer for. My hand trembled, not from the cold, but from the weight of that silent, devastating question. A whisper pulsed through the chamber walls, not spoken aloud, but felt as a vibration in the stone itself. It was the core, trying to communicate. Its voice fragmented and weak, the words formed not in my ears, but in my mind, a ghost of a thought resonating directly with my consciousness. Warden, it pulsed, the single word carrying the weight of ages, the sorrow of its own breaking. You have returned. There was no surprise in its tone, only a profound weariness, the exhaustion of something that has been waiting for a very long time. The vibration in the stone intensified, and the dim light of the core flickered, struggling to hold its form. They are coming back. The whisper continued, each syllable a struggle, a tremor that ran through the very foundation of the chamber. The ones who sundered me, the ones you could not stop. The words were not an accusation, but a statement of fact. A truth as cold and hard as the quartz surrounding us. It knew. It remembered everything. The battle, the shattering, my retreat, my failure. The core wasn't just a beacon, it was a witness, and it was here to remind me that the past was not finished. It was here, in this cold, dark chamber, waiting to be born again. And I, the warden who had failed at once, was all that stood in the way. The chamber pressed inward, not with physical force, but with an emotional weight. The kind of tightening adulthood teaches you to recognize the narrowing of possibilities when responsibility becomes undeniably personal. The fractured meridian core flickered, its light stuttering, casting pale, uneven shadows that writhed across the court's floor. I stood before it, feeling an unfamiliar pulse beneath my sternum, a pulse growing stronger with each passing moment. It was the breaker's silent claim, dormant for decades, waiting for this precise moment to reveal itself. My breath steadied. Age has given me many things. Patience, worn into my bones like grooves in stone. Restraint, learned through countless moments of choosing to wait. And the ability to stand perfectly still when everything inside and around me urges movement. The younger version of me, the man I'd seen in the court's memories, would have panicked. He'd have reached for a weapon, called for help, done anything to break the tension. The man I am now understands that clarity often arrives only when escape is no longer an option. When the only path remaining is forward through the fear, the chamber trembled, a deep vibration running through the floor. 3 cracks split across the smooth stone, jagged lines spreading and converging directly beneath the suspended core. The walls echoed with a slow, deliberate resonance, a heartbeat that wasn't from this place. It came from something vast and patient that had been waiting a very long time. The breaker's presence seeped into the air, not arriving suddenly, but revealing itself gradually, like ink spreading through water. Not an arrival. A recognition, the acknowledgement that he had always been here, waiting in the spaces between awareness. The quartz around the spiral symbol on the far wall brightened, projecting a faint silhouette into the chamber's center hall, narrow and fractured cleanly down the middle. Two secondary silhouettes hovered behind it, restless and thin, caught between presence and absence. The pulse in my chest responded immediately, syncing its rhythm with the glowing symbol, falling into step with something I had no control over. Not an invitation, an interference. My body answering a call I never chose. This was never meant for me, I whispered, my voice low and rough. The chamber responded with a truth I had buried under layers of duty and distraction for decades. The Meridian chose you. He chose you as well. My jaw tightened. I had always known, in the deep, quiet way adults know uncomfortable truths, that the Breaker had touched me long ago. He had left something behind, planted a seed deep inside me to wait undisturbed. But the years had softened that memory, turning certainty into suspicion, truth into mere possibility. Now, it stood undeniable, revealed in harsh light, with no room left for doubt. A thin beam of light extended from the fractured core directly to my chest, a lance of pale radiance piercing through cloth and skin. I felt warmth spread beneath my ribs, radiating outward. Not a comforting warmth, but something grounding and inevitable, like the final piece of a puzzle falling into place. The vault whispered again, its voice gentle now, almost compassionate. The key within you is turning. I didn't move. Sometimes, stillness is the only strength we have left. The most powerful thing you can do is stand your ground and refuse to give the inevitable the satisfaction of your panic. The silhouette in the center sharpened, its edges becoming more defined. The shadows behind it swayed rhythmically, like thoughts struggling to form. The floor cracked further, and the resonance deepened into something almost sorrowful, as if the vault itself grieved for what was about to happen. The core spoke one final time, its light pulsing with each word. What he seeks is not power. IT is completion. And in that moment, I understood. Standing in the cold dimness, the weight of decades settling onto my shoulders, I finally understood the cost. The Breaker wasn't hunting individuals for their strength or knowledge. He was collecting pieces of himself that he had scattered long ago. Fragments hidden inside people like me. Seeds planted in silence and darkness, waiting for the harvest. We were never warriors or obstacles. We were vessels. Containers for something we never chose to carry. I placed my hand on the surface of the core, feeling its warmth pulse against my palm. Its light steadied under my touch, as if drawing strength from the contact or offering what little comfort it could. I won't give him what he came for, I said quietly. word, fear. Not while I still stand. The core pulsed once in response. Not approval, not refusal, just acknowledgement that I had made my choice and would stand by it, regardless of the outcome. The chamber walls trembled more violently, dust and small fragments raining down from the ceiling. The passage that brought me here sealed itself, massive sections of stone sliding into place with the finality of a door that would never open again. Then the floor beneath my feet shifted with a grinding roar. Sections of stone rotated and descended, revealing a long, narrow path cut deep into the bedrock, a path descending further still. One the Warden was never meant to walk, but duty changes shape over time. It evolves as we do. And tonight, mine had changed irrevocably. I stepped onto the newly revealed path, not weed ope, because hope requires the possibility of a different outcome. Not wheat fear, because fear had burned itself out long ago, leaving only ashes. I moved with acceptance, the kind that comes when you recognize the weight you are always meant to carry. The Meridian darkened behind me, its light fading completely, as if closing its eyes and surrendering to what came next. And the pulse within my chest continued its steady, inexorable rhythm, counting down to something I could not stop and would not run from. Thank you for joining me on this part of the journey. If you want to see what lies at the bottom of the path, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. I'll see you in the next chapter.